Life is a long highway and I'm just doing the best I can.
Welcome back to the Straight Line to Success, and excited to get back into this interview with Billy D'Andrea, our guest today. We've been talking about his experience and how he has, journeyed through many success stories, many very legendary coaches and leaders, and of course, he gives a lot of credit to others for his success, but he's been a very big instrumental support for my own success. So I'm looking forward to getting into this next session. Billy D, thank you again for being with us today and sharing your story with us. And, that's the thing that I have learned is, we're human beings, and as human beings, really the only way we know how to learn is really in story. And right. so, sharing your story is special. We appreciate that, and I think that hopefully others will get some entertainment value out of it. Certainly, you have been very successful in your career and are very well respected, and I think some of that came out in the interview about these athletic directors are coming and going, and they're coming to see you because you're the one that everybody says, hey, you're the guy that holds it all together, the glue. Sometimes those kind of roles, you don't really get the credit. I want to give you some credit on this show. That's part of my goal here, is to let people know how much I appreciate you and what you've done for me in my life. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of that, obviously mostly about you, which is about you and how you've impacted my life. But, when you hung up the cleats, so to speak, over there at Clemson, it wasn't long before Anderson University president calls you, picks up the phone and says, hey, well, I need some help over here.
Right.
And so you go and take an AD role there at Anderson University, which had done an incredible job and has done an incredible job with their campus and their academics. And I think the culture that they've developed over there really, as you mentioned in the last episode, they've made a national reputation for themselves.
Absolutely.
And now on this side of your being there, you helped set them up for success, letting them know, hey, this is what it takes. And they obviously did what it takes to have a successful program. I mean, they've got a beautiful facility over there now, great scoreboard, turf field, and they really recruited an incredible coach to come over there and lead Bobby Lamb, Coach Lamb. So, how much of that decision did you set up, or you might not have had anything to do with that?
Well, Dave, I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that when I didn't get the athletic director's job, and when I was a candidate and they hired Dan,
yep.
It was a little bitter pill to swallow.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, being there for 30 years, working in various things, being in IPTAY, knowing all the donors, and then 10 years in academics and knowing faculty members and dean. But, I've certainly turned that page and understand decisions by leadership and everything. So when the opportunity to come to Anderson, I probably jumped on that initially with both feet. And, they always say don't jump on the ice with both feet. Just kind of put one out there and let it crack a little bit. But
growing up in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, exactly. So, when I first got there, Anderson, actually, President Whitaker, I commend the job he has done there. He has created that culture, the Christian culture. He has done a tremendous job academically. But I think there was a lack of value and understanding for what athletics could bring to your institution. I think it was they were a little afraid, what it would do. And but when I got there, we really had very limited resources. As a matter of fact, I think there were 7 teams dressing in their rooms at that time. So I went to President Whitaker, who is a Vanderbilt undergrad, master's, and PhD. He's a very, very intelligent man. And I told him, I said, President Whitaker, we need to have locker rooms so these teams can get together and shower together and work out. And I remember he said, "Are locker rooms that important?" And I thought, whoa, maybe I made a mistake here. So, but fortunately, he worked with me incrementally, and we actually got some trailers and refurbished them into with a bathroom and locker rooms for men and women's soccer. We did the Abney Center, which is the basketball facility there. We did the locker rooms for men and women's basketball and volleyball. And the other important thing that he helped me with significantly was the fact that, I'm a competitive guy, so I looked at how Anderson was finishing in the South Atlantic Conference. And we were like 8th and 9th. We were at the bottom. But then I looked at our scholarships, and we had very few scholarships in all of our sports, except basketball. We were pretty competitive in basketball, but none of the other ones. So I went to President Whitaker and I said, look, in order to recruit these kids and to make it competitive and say we have an athletic program as opposed to an intramural program, I need your help to give me some scholarships. So he did incrementally. Each semester he gave me some. And I'm proud to say when I left, I left in June, and that following semester they won the softball championship, the volleyball championship, and the women's golf championship.
Wow.
So it kind of, it was nice to see that happen.
ROI. That's what
Yep.
they call ROI,
Yeah,
right?
Return on investment. And but I will tell you that I know President Whitaker. We had conversations about starting football. He knew it was going to be expensive. And then we had a donor, and I just can't think of his name, who gave $3 million. And only if it was matched. And then Bert Epting, who is now the athletic director, he's done a tremendous job because he, passing the torch, he took it and ran with it. And then President Whitaker made a commitment to announce they were going to start football. And the thing that I didn't want him to do was to start football kind of half-fannied.
Yeah.
Put a nail up for your locker to hang your towel up or whatever. And they didn't. I mean, they've got a really nice facility in the end zone and in the other end zone that handles men and women's soccer and men and women's lacrosse, which were lacrosse was two sports that they added after I left.
Gotcha.
But the whole campus, I will promote Anderson forever because the whole campus is manicured. It's a beautiful place. The environment is absolutely wonderful. The students that go there, we might have had some athletes that maybe didn't have a strong Christian faith, but when they got there and started rubbing elbows with the people that chose it because of its Christian faith, you could see them grow in their spiritual journey. So, but it was a really good experience. Like I said, I got a little bit worn in being there for long days.
Oh yeah. Hanging up I don't think anybody would fault you, Billy D. You had already paid your dues at Clemson, and
Right.
It sounds like you did a great job over there with some great people, and love that. And let's talk a little bit about football in general, sports in general. It has changed tremendously. As we talked about, the money used to be when I was an NFL agent and we met for the first time back then. We couldn't buy lunch for these guys. We
Right.
couldn't do any of that stuff. And it would jeopardize their eligibility. And today they're getting paid. They're actually getting paid to be on the team because of their name, image, and likeness. And so I guess, the money aspects of the game, the changes. Some are good and some are bad. But let me hear your sort of perspective, from an inside man that played the game. You were one of those college kids that couldn't get money from the outside source. I know you didn't ever get any $100 handshakes or nothing like that. We won't talk about that on but what's your sort of take on that?
Well,
the terrible question, but do your best with it.
When I was in school, we got a $15 a month check, and they called it laundry money. But I have seen a lot of kids come from poor socioeconomic backgrounds and really not have the same opportunity that some regular student has to go out and have a pizza or drink a beer or whatever they wanted to do, socialize. Even going home was somewhat of a challenge, having gas money and whatnot. So college athletics is a job. I mean, it's demanding, it's discipline, it's commitment. And in football, you're gone on weekends. You might play we play at 7 o'clock at Louisville this Friday. That team plane will probably get back here at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's just, it truly is a commitment. So with that said, I'm for college athletes having an opportunity to have some parameters with regards to monetary finances. What I don't like is that if I'm making $100,000 at Clemson and North Carolina offers me $250 and I take off to go there. I wish there was some cap or some parameters where it would slow down the transfer portal, And I don't know. I don't have the answer. I think some of the things are pretty hard to put back in the tube of toothpaste.
Yeah. Hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube.
It is. I think that some of these kids have an opportunity to make some extremely.
It's lucrative. It's lucrative out there.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. So, again, we're sort of transitioning into your experience. You've had a lot of experience. You know how coaches think. You are a coach. You've been a successful coach as well as supporting successful coaches. And, as an NFL agent, I'm retired from the union, still do get involved with kids, representing them as a lawyer, and I do help give them some advice. And I talk to, I represent coaches, and so I get different perspectives from coaches. And I'm old school. I'm a little more like probably I would suspect you are, to where I'd say there's a loyalty factor to sticking around. You got to be loyal, and you can't jump ship just because you're not getting the playing time, because when you leave wherever you are and go somewhere else, you're going to be competing, and there's no history there. There's no roots.
Right.
So before you leave where you've invested and got roots to go somewhere else, you need to really give that some serious thought. It's not just about the money. It's about
Absolutely.
who you are as a person, a man, character, what you're talking about. I mean, how would you advise a player or their parents that is currently in college and they're not getting the playing time that they, want to get? They're getting paid, but they may could go somewhere else. How do you evaluate that? How do you advise that player?
I think the first thing I would say is that you got to remember, and I think this is lost in the NIL, is that your scholarship is being paid for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was the thing that gave me the opportunity to go to school as a scholarship. I'm not sure my parents were in a position to send me. I know they wanted me to go, but to have a scholarship, and I think we've kind of lost that, and. But I think you're right. I think there is a responsibility to kind of be committed and to be loyal. Now, I understand if I am a running back in 2018 and Travis Etienne is in front of me and I know I'm not going to play, I could see given some look. If you want to transfer, you're not going to play here with him there. So
it's a good point. Yeah, good example.
So I think
there's no hard feelings when a man like that leaves.
No. And I think there's some understanding about that. So I think there's some latitude to allow. Now, do we want to go back to sitting out a year? I'm not sure that's always the right answer, too, because of those situations like that.
And coaches can change.
Yes, you're right, And I think in looking at the landscape of college football, and I really think we have a wonderful athletic director at Clemson.
Me too.
With Graham. Yeah. He's a sharp guy. He's got people skills, and I think he's keeping Clemson on the cutting edge of everything that's happening. But I also think across the board, sometimes these ADs get a little knee-jerk reaction to fire somebody, and there's no quick solution to being successful. It's not in an instant mix or coffee or anything. I mean, it's hard work and discipline and dedication and all that, and it takes time. And so I'd like to see, a little more patience. The other thing that I'm not fond of is these tremendous buyouts. I think I saw something on Channel 4. They had the Florida coach, the LSU coach, the Penn State coach, and maybe it was Oklahoma State, and they added those buyups up. It was like $250 million in just to not coach.
To pay people to go away.
Yeah. I mean, you could probably enhance reading in this state if you gave that kind of money toward that. So, I don't blame us for paying them. I mean, they represent the institution more than just football,
right?
And they're taking care of kids, and the fan base are trying to be competitive. It's a demanding job, so the salaries are good, but
it's like a CEO of a huge company. I mean, what is the annual budget for a Clemson football program?
Oh, it's probably $50 million just football
running. So he's running a $50 million organization over there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big right. task. And I was over there and heard Dabo talking the other day. Of course, he's having a rough year. I support him, and like you, it's like, hey, success takes time, and don't be a knee jerk. But he was like, someone asked me, they said, what do you think? Has there been any fallout from this referee comment that you made? He said, I don't know. I've been listening to the music with my daughters, my children. I have no idea what the fallout is. He said, I know everybody in here is having a challenge. I was over there for the all-in banquet, and they're very generous. They do incredible job handing out, millions of dollars in the community all over South Carolina, making an impact. I mean, it's, he's keeping a great attitude, he and Kathleen, and he's like, at least y'all are probably, everybody in here is struggling with something, probably right. You are, I know you are, and probably everybody listening to us right now is struggling with something. He said, but if you're, count your blessings, because maybe they're not talking about you on national news.
That's right. That's right.
But, so just, it's a little bit of golly, being in that spotlight, taking all that pressure. I'm a competitor too. I almost can't stand it. I mean, just watching,
right,
my teams, right. And Clemson's earned the name the Heart Attack Cats, and I think they've earned that, honestly.
They have.
But you're right.
Well, I will say this.
Yeah, go ahead.
You have, I think, the most wonderful coach in the country at Clemson, because not only is he a devout Christian, but he is authentic, he's passionate, and he cares.
Yeah.
I mean, even when kids leave and decide to transfer or whatever, I mean, it's not a divorce or a separation. He welcomes them back. He understands. Now he's tough. He's hard nosed, and he's demanding, and he's a competitor. But to kind of have that balance of all of those things, I think that's why he's so unique and been so successful.
No, he really is. And I want to, Dabo has done an incredible job here. He's been a great role model for me, and I think probably a lot of other people here, if they're honest with themselves. And of course, I was able to work with another incredible coach in Sam White back in the day. And, Sam always had a lot of respect for you. And when we were doing that All-Star Bowl together, it snowed. Sam was like, CBS Sports Network wanted to televise our game on Valentine's Day at like 5 or 6 o'clock at night. Valentine's Day, I was like, I don't know about this. I got the email, and then I get an email from Sam later. He said, "This is awesome. We got to do it." So, we were flying people in from all over the country for this big All-Star Bowl, and it snows. It's like the worst snowstorm in Greenville history almost. I think people died out there on the interstate in Atlanta, and we didn't know what we were going to do. We couldn't practice. These guys had never practiced together. We had a game on national TV, football, and we didn't know what we were going to do. And I think Sam was like, "Well, have you thought about Clemson?" And so he or someone called you, and you met us, opened up the indoor facility at Clemson University.
Right.
We got our buses, and the bus drivers were incredible, driving over there, slick us all get out. But, you let that up, and you said, "Okay, we're going to let you do it for this much time."
Right.
And we got over there, and I think we ended up with a few extra hours and came back. But we had an incredible All-Star Bowl. A lot of those guys went on to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
And, so.
That was Coach Ford and Willie.
That's right.
Willie Jeffries and Coach Ford.
The head coaches. And, of course, the first year we called it the upstate versus the low country, just because growing up in South Carolina, that's kind of how a lot of times we talk about it. And Coach Jeffries was coaching the low country. We divided the state down I-20, and Coach Ford was coaching the upstate. And I think it was Coach Jeffries. They've been huge mentors and supporters of mine, and I love those men dearly. And I think Coach Jeffries said, "Wyatt, that's high school, upstate versus low country. We need to be like the Nationals and the Americans." So, we changed it for that. But I want to thank you for that. That was incredible.
I worked for Coach Ford for 9 years, and I will tell you, I probably learned more about people than I even did football. Now, he taught us a lot of football. I mean, he was tough, hard nosed, and we certainly had the kind of make a compelling case to throw a pass at times, but but we won a lot of football games, and his philosophy was we're going to play defense and be good and sound in the kicking game, and we're going to run the ball. And he's won a lot of games, but I mean he had tact with kids, and just a unique way of getting the best out of them, and I think Dabo certainly has that quality as well, too.
Yeah, I went to Clemson. I guess I got out in 92. I was a Clemson cheerleader in 89, and we went down to Florida State. It was before they joined the ACC. I don't know, were you down there for that game?
I was, yeah. I was on the staff when Wayne Simmons intercepted a pass right before the half. I think we made 21-6 or something like that.
Yeah, that was an incredible game. I remember Coach Ford. I was on the sideline, I think right beside him, and that guy came out and threw his spear down there, and Danny stepped forward with big old tobacco and spit at the spear, and they set up the fans at Clemson in the end zones down there. And you probably remember that. We had that place rocking. Clemson!
Yep.
Man, what a great experience. I mean, Levon Kirkland jersey right there behind you. I think he was the player of the game back in the Hall of Fame Bowl back in the day. Before, so you did have some incredible experience. What was maybe one of your best experiences during that Coach Ford era?
Oh, boy.
Or something that he learned or you saw, or something that you thought was...
Well, one of them was not the great experience, but the Punarooski.
Well, tell us about that.
You remember, I mean, it was
Neon Dion.
Neon Dion. Well, he returned a punt in that game, but we were actually we held them. They were about on the 23-yard line, their own 23. And we held them. We were going to get the ball back, and we could have kicked the field goal and won the game. And
Bobby Bowden was coaching.
And we always coached for be alert for a fake, but when you're on your own 23-yard line, you don't think that's going to happen. And so I give Coach Bowden credit for doing that, when he was backed up, and it certainly worked. I remember Donnell Wolford, he came from all the way on the other side and ran I can't remember who was the up back that took the ball and ran down the side. And I think we knocked them out of bounds on about the 4-yard line, and then they scored. So, but we went to several. That
Poderoski is hurt so bad.
It did.
That all these years later, you still got the knife in your chest.
I do. That was a killer right there. But no, we went to in '86 we beat Stanford in the Gator Bowl, and then in the Citrus Bowl the next year we beat Penn State, and then we beat Oklahoma the following year in the Citrus Bowl. So, and then we went to the Gator Bowl again and beat West Virginia.
Yeah.
Had a lot of good experience.
In that West Virginia game, who was the quarterback?
I can't think of his name right now, but
I can't.
Major Harris.
Major Harris, yeah.
Major
Levon
Harris.
talks about Major Harris's mom being mad at Levon and them for
Yeah.
beating him down.
Well, Levon, we had 4 really good outside linebackers. We had Wayne Simmons, who actually passed away. He was a first-round draft pick. Levon, and then Ashley Shepard, and John Johnson. So we really had some talent right there. So
that's
really good players. Yeah, we were good on defense. So
there's so many great games and directions that I could take the conversation. Let me just ask you, what question hadn't I asked you today that I should have asked you?
I'm not sure, really. I think you've done a pretty thorough job of digging into my journey and all that. And, as I said, I've been blessed by people that have been, I just don't think people jaywalk through your life. I think.
So what do you mean by that?
I think they're put in your life to make a difference, or to help you, to give you opportunities. I just, I think the good Lord, has a plan for you, and He helps you exercise it, and it's really about helping others and giving people opportunities, and I think that's as you get older, I think that's what's important. When you're young, you're climbing that ladder, and everything is important, and you want this and you need this and all that. Now I'm trying to get rid of stuff. So but I think that those your spiritual journey becomes more important. Your friends become more important. The relationships that you had going through that journey become more important.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your faith, and I do think that I've listening to you. Clearly, you have been someone that has a relationship with the Holy Spirit, with God, the Lord, and that I think is really the key to success.
Absolutely.
And I hear you saying that. I hear, and I appreciate that. I'll highlight that because that is something that really, at the end of the day, if you buy into the faith, we have a relationship. All these relationships are important because it's important to the one who created us.
Absolutely.
And the success we talked a little bit about this philosophy: prepare, excel, enjoy, succeed. That's the formula for success. This podcast, a straight line to success, the shortest distance between 2 points. That's a straight line. So a lot of people say, oh, Wyatt, there's no straight line to success. I'm like, well, the shortest distance between 2 lines, where you are right now, where you want to go.
Right.
And, I've heard a lot of things through your stories of where you were and where you got to and how you did it. And it was decisions. It was the choices that you made. And it seems like your faith really helped make and shape those choices. When you got married, you went to your wife. She's a great woman. And so
my wife was the superintendent at Pickens County, and she hired Sam White to be the Pickens County head coach.
How about
she
that?
asked me about that. I said, you better hire her.
That's awesome. I did not know that. Well, we need to get her in here next.
Yeah.
But, well, Billy D, I'd love to have you back. I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to The Straight Line to Success. Copyright 2026 Wyatt Sports and Entertainment, LLC. All rights reserved. Visit www.tslts.com and join the TSLTS Insider for exclusive content and updates.
And we're doing the best we can. Everybody do your best. Come on, come on. Do your best. Do your best. The best you can.